Hello everyone, this is your host Vaibhav. In today's session of Daily Talk, we are going to take a look on the earnings of one of the pharmaceutical major companies across the world. About Inc. It has released its first quarter earnings for the fiscal year 2024 recently, and there was no buzz surrounding its earnings simply because there has been not much of an growth in the revenue. There is slight growth, but that hasn't really translated into higher earnings simply because its expenses have also gone up slightly more so in comparison to the growth being observed in the top line, and as a result of that, the enthusiasm is simply not there amongst the investors or the traders who might be willing to go long at the time. So we have seen it remain in a bearish spiral on almost all the different timelines if you were to consider the short term, the medium term, as well as the long term. It has been bearish for a while now, and it is likely to remain so for the near term future. If you are talking about next couple of months, I am not really expecting it to rise rapidly from here onwards unless there is any new development which is going to catalyze the interest amongst the traders and investors to go and buy it. So we now head to the earnings report. This is the filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission of the United States. Our job is simple, and it is to simply look and consider its consolidated statement of earnings. Afterwards, we will also try to gather information, the insights from the balance sheet and the cash flow statement as well. The net sales have risen. There is growth of around 2 percentage point in the total revenues for the quarter ended March 31st, 2024 in comparison to the first quarter of 2023. So there is this increase, but if you consider the expenses, then you see that the cost of products sold has also gone up, and there is increase of around 2 percentage point there as well. The cost of research and development is also on the higher side. The only thing which has decreased is this amortization of intangible assets, which is seeing decrease. Apart from that, there is an increase connection issues. Now that we are back online, let us resume with our understanding of this consolidated statement of earnings for the About Inc. The About Laboratories and its subsidiaries have reported that there has been increase in its top line. The revenues have risen. The only factor is that it's not really any way growth which you would be getting excited about, and that is what is happening in its share price also. Now that we have this report, I think we can try to understand the implications for its share price moves over the next few days, next few weeks, next few months to see if we can have the opportunities which are going to be favorable for us to trade and profit, whether it is on the decline or whether it is on the rise, is going to be immaterial for us to a large extent. If you are in the derivatives market, you can go long, you can go short, you can use options for the consolidation phase as well. So there are a lot of possibilities which you can consider while using this data report, the quarterly earnings report for the About Laboratories. Its net income is lower. There has been decline, a substantial decline in its net earnings, which have now come down to US dollar 1.2.2 US dollar 1.22 billion from US dollar 1.31 billion a year back, and this is attributed more to the inefficiencies creeping in the operations of the company. Apart from the slight increase in the revenues, its expenses went up, and that resulted in the decline in the net income, decline in the bottom line, even though there was slight increase in the top line. If we try to understand its cash flow statement, the cash flow statement remains robust from the point of view of its day-to-day operations. There is not much to worry about. I think as and when it finds new catalyst, new discoveries which can gain market share and expand its presence in the medical space, its revenues will be on the rise. But for the near term, there has been stability in its earnings. I am not really expecting it to change anytime soon. We are not really likely to see any big number which is going to just pop out of the blue. Nothing of that sort is likely to happen, and more so in the defensive space like pharma. So it is going to take time, and there has been developments, and there have been the possibilities where some breakthrough might come through, and that is one thing which we can rely on as investors for the award to deliver, and then the growth might follow. But as I said earlier, also the near term prospects look bleak, and we should be bracing more for the consolidation phase rather than any upward momentum, a shift in momentum in the bullish direction for next few weeks, next few months. Now we are going to consider its cash flow statements. We have already looked at its earnings report. The cash flows from the operations have also seen some decline. Its cash flow from the operations is now lower by around 10 percentage point from US dollar 1.14 billion to US dollar 1.02 billion. This is simply because the earnings are lower by around $100 million, and that impact is here in the cash flows from the operations. The cash used in investing activity is not much very different from what it was a year back. There has been some decline in the investment activity, and that is because the purchase of other investment securities are on the lower side this time around. The cash flows from the financing activity, the cash outflows are also on the lower side. There has been less outflow for the purchase of common shares, and that has pulled its outflow by around 250 to $300 million. But still, there has been decline in its cash holdings if we were to consider cash and cash equivalents at the beginning of year. Then at the start we had US $6.9 billion, and that cash pile is now down to US $6.3 billion. But still, it's quite a huge amount of money to be having at your disposals, and I am quite hopeful and quite confident of the Abbott Laboratories' abilities to spend this money wisely, and we are likely to see it being spent in useful ways to figure out the opportunities to grow, to gain market share, and increase the revenues and net profit in the future. Now it's time for us to shift our gaze to the technical side of the story. This is the About Laboratories share price over last few days, last few weeks, and it has been downward since a while now. And I'm not really expecting any sort of big change in its trajectory. Here you can clearly notice the formation of lower lows and lower highs, Nothing much different this time around. Here we have this uniformly spaced formations of lower lows and lower highs. For last few sessions, after this sharp move on the lower side, it has indeed found support closer to this 104 mark. It's a slow moving stock. In a day, it doesn't really move much in terms of the percentages. It's a big company. There is a lot of interest in the investment world, but that doesn't mean it is going to move in a big way every day unless there is a factor, there is a big catalyst which might cause that. After its earnings have been released, the downward spiral is not looking like it's going to end soon. And so I feel it is better for us to keep looking for the opportunities to go short on it in the short term. So if your view is simply for next few days, I would say that the price is likely to be capped around 106, 107 mark in the near future. So if you find anything closer to that, in this consolidation phase, you can certainly look for the initiation of a new short sale trade. We have this downward spiral, and it is likely to break past this immediate swing low of 104.25 and decline below that towards maybe in course of time even towards 100 mark. So that possibility is there. So we just have to be sure that the risk reward ratio is in our favor. We should not really be taking undue risk because any trade can go wrong. So that possibility of being on the wrong side of the move is always there. So as a result of that, we do need to exercise caution and take the risk, which is going to be in our favor numerically. In any way we look at it, we have to play the odds. The odds needs to favor us as well as the risk reward ratio. The medium term outlook is also equally bleak from the point of view of the traders or investors who want to go long. But if you have been a short seller, then I think you might be sitting on quite a hefty profit from the levels of around 120. It has already declined to 105, sub 105 levels, and it's not really showing any signs of a recovery from these current levels as well. It has lacked the buying momentum on these lower levels. So that opens up the possibility of further decline in the share price of the Abbott laboratories over the next few weeks as well. And keeping that possibility in mind, I feel this immediate swing high of around 115 is going to be crucial. As long as it continues to trade below it, we have to take chances in its consolidation phase. If we get it anywhere close to 110 mark, I think that is going to be a place where we can get a bit aggressive and try to profit from these bearish momentum prevalent in the abort. Now shifting our outlook to the longer time frame. Here on the chart where each candlestick is now defined at weekly, we have this formation which is pointing to the extended consolidation. There is not much of an clarity. It is simply expanding in the range after making higher high, which was higher than this prior swing high. We have this continuous decline over the last few months, and we still have the room for the abort to run lower. Maybe in course of time, it might decline to 100 or even below that, unless it finds some support and stabilizes on the lower levels. We can't really say at the current juncture. The only thing we can do is give it time, and maybe over the next few weeks we can think about newer trading opportunities. But right now it is midway across the moon. It is not going to be a favorable idea to either go long or to go short in such an environment. It is better, it is advisable to wait it out, and better for us to sit on the sidelines. And if it continues to decline, maybe when it approaches the support zone of around 90, If there is consolidation and some support on the lower levels, we might even think about going long at that time, or if it is closer to the resistance zone, we might be more willing to initiate a short sell trade. But now there has been a move already in place, and it is simply in a consolidation phase with this range expansion also underway. So that warrants some caution on our side, on our part, and it will be better for us to keep the powder dry, and when the opportunity presents itself in the next few months, we can indeed take the action and try to profit from it. But for the time being, it is better to concentrate on other timelines where there might be opportunities coming our way, particularly in the short term, where the bearish trend is clearly well established with the possibility of it dipping towards 100 in the next few weeks. So that's it from my side for today's session of the daily stock, where we consider these share price moves of the above laboratories. Prior to that, we have already considered its earnings report as well. So the takeaway is that these bearish sentiments seem likely to prevail over next few weeks, maybe even next few months. So it is going to be better for us to go and keep looking for short selling opportunities in the near term to medium term, depending on the risk reward ratio the trades might generate for you if you are willing to go short and target the sale on rally approach. Now it's time for me to sign off for the day. I will be back tomorrow with a equally interesting stock to work with. Till then, have a fabulous day ahead, a profitable day ahead. Goodbye.